Welcome to episode 10 of the How Good Is Your Overwatch League team series. In this episode, we're discussing the London Spitfire. How is this team going to do in year 2 of their Western rebuild? It seems like they made some slight improvements for sure, but will any of it really matter? That is the question we will be attempting to answer today. Let's figure out how they got here first. The Spitfire definitely had a lot of trouble last year. A single win in 16 attempts made them a bottom 3 team in the league. They tried to make things work with a British Hurricane core plus a few other randoms, but it failed miserably. It was so bad, in fact, that everybody except for Sparker and Shax got purged. Well, I guess Hadi as well, but he initially was off the team before getting a second chance. London's surviving roster went down to 3, and understandably so. There's no way in hell that you could justify keeping most of that roster together after those horrible results. None of the guys they released were truly worth keeping. Somebody like Mulf definitely had decent potential, but it was clear that it would take a lot to overcome those initial struggles that he showed in his rookie year, and you don't really have the patience at this point. Aside from him though, you likely don't mind any of these departures. What is there to be mad about? The people they released were average on a good day. Most of the DPS were pretty weak all year, especially before Sparker joined the fray. Hybrid and Blase could not live up to their potential even as budget signings, and if we're being honest, the support line was no better. Kelix and Ripa each had a few brief shining moments, but that's it. And just to further show that they're looking to start from scratch, London moved on from their head coach Fissure. They need a new system and somebody who can drill better fundamentals into their heads. If you're going to make changes with your core, you might as well change up the coaching too. Now to highlight what the Spitfire did afterwards to try and move forward. As mentioned before, they decided to give Hadi another chance after initially parting ways, and Hadi sticking around is a statement for sure. While by no means all his fault, he did struggle for a large majority of 2021, so this is a risky approach, but it also shows that the Spitfire believe in him. To stay committed to something that didn't work out is not something you see often these days. I mean, look at the Toronto Defiant as an example, you know? And in a way, I can respect London's approach. Hadi definitely was a shining star back during his heyday on British Hurricane, so I can understand why London aren't so willing to give up yet. He brings desired flexibility that comes with being a tank player in Overwatch 2. He's shown well-roundedness on all of the typical main tank heroes in years past. I don't hate the idea of this move, but I can't say that I love it either. You could argue they maybe should have looked elsewhere, but it's also unclear if there were any solid prospects worth taking a gamble on. It's weird to see Hadi back, but it's somewhat understandable given the circumstances. But you know, London knew full well that Hadi just wouldn't be enough, so they bolstered the front line with a proven veteran of the game. They opted for Poco. If you ask me, that's an insta upgrade compared to Mulf. Poco is far more proven at the Overwatch League level. He's a true veteran of the game who has been a part of multiple championship level rosters. He's a 4-year veteran with nearly 3 days of total stage time. The man knows what it takes to succeed in this league, and the best part about it is, even by today's standards, Poco is still respectable. He's no superstar by any stretch of the imagination, but he's always going to have your back. Poco has a very consistent D.Va and Zarya, and has been known for his ability to make clutch plays. The only concern really comes through his lack of playtime in recent years. Due to his visa issues, he didn't play at all in 2021, not a single map. And do not forget that Fury actually handled a good bit of playtime back in 2020. That's a long time to go without significant stage time. It's true that he was still good the last time we saw him play, but that was a long time ago, and a lot can change in 2 years. As someone who respects Poco and has watched him play throughout the years, I'd like to think that he's going to be fine, but you definitely cannot rule out the possibility that something could go wrong. But regardless, it still looks like a good pickup. A veteran leader known for his consistency is exactly what a team seeking any sort of positive direction needs. Speaking of going in positive directions, I couldn't be happier with London's new addition at DPS. Say goodbye to Blase and Hybrid and say hello to Backbone. He'll be responsible for the flex DPS duties. With London going EU only, their options were severely limited, so you might as well get the best of the best, right? Backbone absolutely crushed it in contenders for the better part of 2 years. His diverse hero pool made him a strong asset on multiple rosters. He's the ideal flex. He's got your projectile needs covered, but can also venture into Tracer and or Hanzo if need be. I'm a big fan of his work. Backbone is young, and his ceiling isn't set unlike Blase or Hybrid. He's shown a lot of talent at just 18 years old. He can only get better from here, which is a terrifying thought. Backbone likely increases London's playmaking potential right from day one. Backbone is a good guy to lean on. He's demonstrated a clutch gene, and he has a hero pool that ensures that London can play basically any DPS combo in the game. He's not some sort of guaranteed savior, but I'd like to believe that he can be a part of the solution, and he's far from the only rookie who falls into that boat. The Spitfire started over at support with Provide and Admiral, who are both pretty decent pickups. The main guy people are going to be talking about for sure right now is Provide. Strictly speaking, from a talent standpoint, it's not bad. Provide is considered to be one of the best flex supports EU has to offer. He was even considered to be a rival of Khan's back in the day. This could end up being one of the more underrated signings of the entire offseason. I mean, he could truly surprise a couple of people. Bringing in any sort of explosiveness to the support line would already be a huge step in the right direction compared to last year. My only concern, though, comes through the backlash of this signing. You see, Provide was once known to be incredibly toxic. Back in 2018, he was caught using some racial slurs. I think there might have been some other things he said, I don't really remember though, but that actually ended up leading to him temporarily stepping away from the game. He was originally set to join the Los Angeles Valiant in 2020 before the screenshots came out, which goes to show that teams wanted nothing to do with him back then. After taking time to think about what he did and said, he made a comeback through North American Contenders, where he showed he's still capable. Even after taking a break, his skill set still does seem pretty trustworthy, but there's going to be question marks regardless because of that maturity issue that he used to have. Provide has come out and said that he is a changed man, and it seems that London and the people he's played with in the past are backing him up. But talk is cheap. Some fans who know of him are not particularly thrilled to see him here. It's not exactly easy to support a team that takes chances on a previously known racist. London could be looking at an above average amount of hate, and who knows how that could affect the team's mindset as we start to get deep into the year. The Spitfire are taking a gamble. The skill is definitely present, but character issues and fan backlash are a different story. It will be very interesting to see how this franchise weathers the storm. Flipping over to Admiral, this is way less risky. He's a well-proven main support from their own academy team who you have to like more than Kellex. I'd like to think that Admiral gets more respect and is regarded as a potential upgrade. Nobody is expecting him to be a god amongst men, but doing better than Kellex would be a good start. With vast experience, a decent hero pool, and success across multiple years, Admiral makes for a good addition, especially when considering that Masa and FD God were not in the cards. I'm not blown away by Admiral, but I'm still satisfied by London's choice nonetheless. The question now is, who is going to be the man in charge? Who will be the leader who brings forth better guidance compared to last year? London's answer to this issue is Chipsa's brother. Christopher shall take the reins in his first ever head coaching opportunity at this level. Memes aside, Christopher is a well-respected guy. He was part of the Philly Fusion for the last 3 years, and he's helped coach some pretty good teams while picking up on some valuable knowledge by working with multiple great coaches and elite players. He's a lot more well-spoken than Reprise or Fisher were. He might just be the leadership figure this franchise has been searching for. If he was able to be a long-tenured coach on the Philadelphia Fusion, a promotion feels well-deserved on the surface. Now, of course, his job on London will certainly be a lot tougher, but if he truly is qualified enough, he should be able to handle it. There's your London offseason though. It's cool to see them make needed changes. When I look at this team, I see potential upgrades at a couple different places. Tank, flex DPS, flex support, those positions could really see some great productivity. Through a combination of proven talent and skillful rookies, London seem more respectable. Thanks to Poco, I fully expect the Spitfire's tank line to play with more confidence, and the flexibility is also looking pretty good. I don't question their abilities to play whatever the team needs. You've got 2 experienced veterans here, one who is Overwatch League proven, and one who isn't quite yet. Unless Hadi showcases noticeably better play, that aspect of the team could be a little inconsistent. Now at support, I'm going to reiterate the fact that I believe Provide Admiral isn't bad, but are they good enough at the Overwatch League level? I'm not too sure. The skills as well as the accomplishments are certainly present, but this isn't EU contenders, this is a global league. And the West happens to be home to quite a few ridiculous support lines. Even the average-looking teams from this region are packing some serious heat. When I compare London's support line to a lot of the others, a lot of these matchups just don't feel favorable, and that could be a major issue. London needs supports who can pop off and enable their team. It really sucks too, because I like this support line. London honestly took a step in the right direction. I'm just not convinced that they have what it takes on like the average league level. Provide could be the next Khan type of player, although I'm not entirely sure if he's going to be as good, seeing as the team around him could be weaker on paper. If this was the league from like a couple of years ago, maybe their chances would be better, but right now on average, I don't think they're looking too hot. Now turning to DPS though, this is probably the best aspect of the team. You've got Shax, who is hopefully in for a rebound year, Sparker in year 2, plus Backbone. It's a DPS line with a pretty decent ceiling. They lack any guarantee since they may not have enough resources to pop off consistently, but at least they offer you a higher chance of success. When he's got the right team around him, Shax is an animal. He proved that during his Valiant days, and I'm honestly hoping that London maybe involves him a bit more, maybe even playing him beyond Tracer as well, you know? I think it kind of just seems like a waste of his talents to not play him more. So if they can maybe properly utilize Shax a bit better, that could be great. And while it came in burst, I think that Sparker also had his moments last year. It seemed like he started to figure some stuff out towards the end of the year, and based on the capabilities he showcased in Contenders, that's a good sign for him as he might be starting to trend in the right direction. And lastly, like I was talking about before, you have Backbone, who brings a lot of extra stability and flexibility to the table thanks to his hero pool. The skill level of this DPS line is very good. My only concern is they're not going to be enabled enough. It's very sad, but that just might be the situation they're working with. And if I think about this roster as a whole, I'm still nowhere near impressed. Having the opportunity to be better than last year doesn't mean much to this team at all, considering that there's literally nowhere to go but up. So maybe you could improve in the win column department, but how far up could they actually go? From a glance, I'd say not far. Most of their roster is likable, but on paper they just seem to fall short skill-wise. It's subject to change, of course, but I don't see a single superstar on this entire roster. If you compare them to their competition out in the West, there's at least 6, maybe 7 rosters that you prefer at a glance without even having to think about it, and that might be putting it generously. I mean no disrespect, but that's just kind of how I see it currently. The West has quite a few scary teams with more proven players who are all-star or better level, and the Spitfire basically don't have any of that. They have potential all-stars for sure, but no day one monsters. Something worth noting though is that I actually do really like the Spitfire's coaching staff, and that could play a big role in helping this team surpass their expectations and kind of just showing a better result than what's advertised. However, I still don't think that means that it's worth taking a gamble on them. It's like with the Paris Eternal last year. Yes, they were a lot better than expected, but that's before we knew anything. Excellent coaching and mid-season changes helped the Eternal figure things out, but it's not something we see often. I'd like to believe that London kind of puts up a similar show, but as of right now, they feel like a bottom team, just as Paris did back in the day. Due to a lack of confidence in their ability to keep up with most rosters, I'm anticipating the London Spitfire to finish anywhere from 20th through 15th place in the overall standings and 13th through 10th in the West. Changes or not, London's expectations are going to remain minimal. They have everything in the world to prove and genuinely might be one of the worst teams in the league. There's even a possibility that they finish last in their conference. It's a toss-up between them and a couple of other teams, which doesn't exactly look good. I appreciate their commitment to a fully Western roster, but as of right now, they do not match up very well with the majority of teams in the league. Playoffs don't feel like much of a possibility at all, and I think it'd just be good for them to finish better than bottom 5. It's another team filled with way too many what-ifs. If Hottie shows improvement, if the DPS and supports develop, if the coaches do a good job, etc., maybe they end up becoming the next Paris Eternal type of team. However, that is asking for a lot when considering that they are an okay at best roster competing in a very deep conference. If it makes you feel any better, London fans, technically this team has zero expectations, which means they could be playing a lot of pressure-free Overwatch, which could in turn lead to some upset victories, not to mention that they're kind of overdue for a good year after a couple of years of basement dweller status. But still, right now, I consider them to be a bottom-tier roster. I'd hate to say it, London fans, but you might have to wait another year before returning to relevance at the very least. I'm hoping for the best, though. Fingers crossed, London fans. Fingers crossed. Well, that just about does it for this episode, folks. Let me know what you think. Do you believe that the Spitfire are in for a better year, or do you think they're going to suck again? Feel free to leave your own evaluation of the team down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you want to stay up to date with this series. We still have 10 teams to go. And until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.